Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna. We're continuing to read Bhagavad-gita because that's why we're here. Bhagavad-gita, here it is. We're reading Bhagavad-gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And my name is Labanga Latika. We are reading the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, speaking of transcendental knowledge. And it's a little bit of a provocation to hear about spiritual knowledge, because spiritual things are seen as some kind of a floaty, dreamy imagination type of thing. But actually, if we are not serious about spiritual life, maybe we don't care about it. But when we want to start to take up spiritual life, especially Krishna consciousness, it's very helpful to know something, because then we avoid some difficulties and we can focus on the things that work. And especially when it comes to activity and work, then it's quite good to have some knowledge. I'm reading text 18. Karmanya karmaya pasyed akarmani cha karmayaha sabudhiman manushyesu sayukta kritsna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So that sounds a little complicated, a little convoluted even. Purport: a person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalists cease fruitive activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of his service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. Yes, so it sounds a little bit like one of those paradoxes, action and inaction and inaction and action. But the explanation here is we are dealing with Krishna consciousness, and then everything becomes incredibly personal. We don't just line up some beautiful poetic principles. We don't just struggle with our karma or with our renunciation, because these are all parts of the material world. They're also part of the path of self-realization, because you can start it from different angles, you can start it on different levels, you can execute it on different levels, and then all of these are valid concerns. But the real spiritual platform is that platform that is beyond the material existence. And we're in the material world, so it's a little difficult to understand it. But when we are part of Krishna's atmosphere, of Krishna's existence, of Krishna's exchange of activities and love, then that is not within the realm of material karma. It's actually as simple as that. So when some activities are performed in this world, we will gain the result, good and bad, in an impersonal sense. It's like you go to a shop and you give them your money, and you can get only so much and not more. So you can decide you want to buy the potatoes or you want to buy diamond rings, but your money will go towards the price. If you go to a friend and give them a gift, then next time they may give you a gift. nobody keeps count. Of course, sometimes people do keep counts. They feel that people are taking advantage of them and so on. But in a genuine relationship, your children come and they bring you something for your birthday. And obviously, whatever they used came from you. Maybe they are making a drawing. I still say that, my children, what would you like for a birthday? And I said, you can make a nice drawing. They usually don't make drawings for me anymore. But, that drawing is made with the paper and the crayons that you have provided. They get a little older. You give them some pocket money, and then maybe they go out and buy something nice. Comes all out of the pocket money that you gave them. But you appreciate it because it's a loving exchange. And you don't you don't write the price down and make sure whenever you give a gift it is in the same bracket. Because love is different than business. And the spiritual world is all about love, and the material world is a kind of a business. We put something in, we get something out. We want to get more in than we get more out than we put in. Or maybe the other way around, we want to impress others with our generosity. With Krishna, it's a question of love, and it does not have a karmic reaction, and everything else has a karmic reaction, whether we get it immediately or later, whether it's regulated good karma that we want to achieve a higher platform in this world, or whether it is life without a plan, where we just happens. We hear those stories. One thing led to another. No, one thing doesn't lead to another. We are conscious and responsible living entities, and we make our decisions. But when we don't make a conscious effort to have a direction in our lives, then things will just kind of happen, and then usually nothing good comes from it, and there's all kinds of suffering as a result. Or we will do some proper actions and get a proper result, but at the same time we will take birth in this world again and again. So it's a bit entangling, and the only thing that is not there is Krishna consciousness. Of course, there is yoga, different levels of yogas that takes us out a little bit, that points us in a spiritual direction. But the complete self-realization, the complete perfectionism of yoga is when the soul wakes up to his or her original relationship to God. Yes. So it's not just complicated terminologies here, action and inaction, and inaction, inaction. So even in this world when we do nothing, but we do not do that nothing in a relationship of love to God, still there will be some form of reaction, even just by avoiding doing our duties in this world. I will take the next verse also. Text 19. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanang tam ahu panditang buddha. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So now we're getting this type of yajnik pictures. We see the image of a yajna, a fire sacrifice where you pour something into the fire. So that's the pictures that are used here. So somebody who is doing activities, but he doesn't have, or she, a desire for personal sense gratification, then the reactions of work are being burned up in the fire of perfect knowledge. And that is one process. Only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness, because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratificatory propensities. It is to be understood that he has burned up the reactions of his work by perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually learned who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Development of this knowledge of eternal servitorship to the Lord is compared to a fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions to work. So yes, when we look at at the scope of laws in this world, we don't think that we can counteract, again, the law of gravity. Things will keep falling down, not up. And similarly, when we hear first about karma, it seems that law is is like an iron ice-clad force that we cannot change. But for Krishna, these things are not very difficult to change. And for the soul is quite powerful, and once under the shelter of Krishna, is not affected by this material world. But before we get to that point, we have to want to get to that point, and we have to understand how things work. So here, what we see, this kind of karmic reactions that seem to be very powerful and seem to be running this whole world. But actually, when activities are performed because we want to enjoy the result, then we take full responsibility, we take all of the reactions. When activities are performed out of duty, because I know in this world I have certain duties and I do them, so I will do the work, but I will not be very demanding to be compensated for it. That is not the point. I will do my duties because we are all living here together and we all have to do our part. Then there is not particularly strong karmic reactions to it. And especially if I will do my work as a servant to Krishna, to Krishna's devotee, offering what I have, then Krishna will take responsibility and there will be no karmic reaction. And that is not immediately something that can be seen. This we have to hear about in order to understand it. Text 20. Jaktva karma palasangang nityatripto nirashraya karmanya bhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Purport. This freedom from the bondage of actions is possible only in Krishna consciousness, when one is doing everything for Krishna. A Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he has no attraction for the results of the action. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance, for everything is left to Krishna, nor is he anxious to secure things, nor to protect things already in his possession. He does his duty to the best of his ability and leaves everything to Krishna. Such an unattached person is always free from the resultant reactions of good and bad. It is as though he were not doing anything. This is the sign of akarma, or action without fruitive reactions. Any other action, therefore, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is binding upon the worker, and that is the real aspect of vikarma as explained herein before. So, yes, it's a little bit of a convoluted understanding, and it's maybe not entirely intuitive, but here we get some good basic understanding, and then based on that knowledge we can make decisions about our lives, and also based on the other principles of following in the footsteps of those who already have this realization, we can also be connected, even if we are not on that perfect platform. And who is on that perfect platform? Completely without attachment, completely without fear and anger and this kind of bondage in this world. It's not a very easy platform to find, but we can connect in that chain of persons who already have that relationship to Krishna, and we can get there gradually. But it's good to know what that is that we want to achieve. So, therefore, we have the Bhagavad-gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,